Hello there and welcome to this week's edition of Women in the Fore right here on Times TV with me, Wezi Kasambala. Remember, just as a reminder, this is the program that seeks to highlight women's accomplishments here on Malawian soil. And it doesn't matter what sector you're coming from, what it is you do. If you are having some sort of an impact and you're doing something significant that we think we should highlight, we shall be getting in touch with you. I've had a number of different ladies, and today I've been joined in the studios by Anne-Marie Quinn. She is, of course, a musician. I'm sure you've seen her on Times a number of times. But not only that, she's also one of the proprietors of an NGO called Musicians Against Malaria, which seeks to help in the prevention of malaria, which you know is still one of the biggest killers here in sub-Saharan Africa. And she's done quite a bit of lot with other fellow musicians on that project, so we'll be talking about that. But of course, the main essence of this is to find out about her humble beginnings. So hello to you, Anne.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Good to have you in a different kind of light.
Yeah,
Normally we have you doing interviews about your music, etc., but I thought it would be nice for people to get to know you.
No, this is really nice.
To inspire others.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So obviously you're English, born in England. But we always start with the background. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing.
Yes, so I was born in the UK. My family are originally from Ireland, so my grandparents are Irish.
Okay.
And I was born in a place in Nottingham, so that's about 2 hours north of London.
Yeah.
So kind of like the Midlands in the UK. And yeah, I have like huge family and lots of cousins and everything. And then we moved to the Lake District, which is in the north of the UK, just underneath Scotland, when I was about 7 years old, and it's beautiful. There's lakes and mountains, and so I grew up like every weekend at the lake, and you know, like messing about in the water. Yeah, it was an amazing place to grow up. But it's also the Lake District is the wettest place in England, so like it rains every single day. Oh yeah, no,
really?
Worse than Manchester.
I was gonna say, sure.
I know Manchester has like its own cloud, but the UK, like no, the Lake District rains all the time. So no, I had a great, I had a great upbringing, and went to schools in a small town in the Lake District, and made lots of amazing friends, and I had really had a lovely time.
So tell us about, obviously you're a musician, so how did that passion come about, your love for music?
Good question. Well, so I do think my mum and dad played music to me like all the time growing up, which I feel like in Malawi is a very usual, like people grow up around music in churches, and people are singing all the time. I feel like in the UK it's not as much. I feel like the music's kind of put on, but it's not part of your culture like it is here.
Okay.
And so, but my mum and dad, we have music on all the time. My dad, I suppose, absolutely loves any kind of music. So we would have Bob Marley, Paul Simon, like everybody. We would like listen to the Drifters, like Temptations, all like amazing music. And so I grew up like dancing around and listening to all of this music. And in the school I like started.
So do you have, are your parents musical?
No.
Okay.
Like not in the slightest.
So you were just the total opposite.
Yeah.
Right.
They love a good like sing in the shower, but who doesn't?
Yeah.
But no, they're not. Like nobody in my family is really like musical. And I just loved it and loved like expression. And I did a lot of I did dance classes, drama. I did art A level and all the creative subjects. But I just fell in love with music, and I did all the school choirs and started off from like tiny, like primary school. Did all the choirs, and I started learning violin when I was 7, and just kind of picked. That's what in the UK in the primary schools, instruments are kind of like given instruments to have a go with, which is amazing. But I do think it's taken for granted. You know, like coming here and you think, oh my goodness, like wow. So started on violin and then moved to guitar and then kept singing and doing choir practice all the way through my schooling. And I think I was always really interested in two things. One, that like there weren't many girls. I think there were lots of girls that kind of picked up the guitar and maybe strummed it a little bit and learned a few chords, but I was really interested in the theory behind the music and like and reading.
So you're saying that's not something girls were into?
No, I feel like
they were more into what, the violin, things like that?
Yeah, well, and even more like just to let me grab an instrument, and it's that quick fix of like, well, I can play this chord now, and it's like, but I really wanted to understand why those notes work together and the music theory behind it, because then when you learn the theory, then you can then it all makes sense then. You know, it's like trying to do like cooking without having a recipe.
Yeah,
like, you can kind of figure a little bit of it out.
Yeah.
But it's a balance of both, right? It's good to have like a natural feel to it, but at the same time, if you don't have kind of some of the answers to it, and I found there weren't many girls that were interested in theory and learning how to read music and write music, and even though it totally didn't come naturally to me, and I had to work really hard, and I really didn't like it at the time, I knew that it was going to help me progress and to move forward.
So at that point, did you know that you wanted to be a vocalist as well, or was it purely the instruments that you were interested in at that point?
But both. I love both. And I started.
So did you do the whole singing in the shower kind of thing?
Oh yeah, like 100%. Like I still do now. It's the best place because the acoustics are beautiful, which is why everybody loves to sing in the shower, because it makes everybody sound like Beyonce.
Yeah.
I then started listening to people like Tracy Chapman and like beautiful, amazing singer-songwriters, and started writing my own songs. But that's the thing, I would have like maybe 4 chords, and because my theory wasn't great, I couldn't then work out what else you could add to the mix. And so I was like, okay, well maybe, and then when I started to kind of do some more studying, and then realize, oh my gosh, this opens you up to like, and you know, some people go too far the other way and only study theory and then not play, and so it's a mix of both, you know, which is what I do here at Jacaranda, is teach
oh gosh, I should have mentioned that as well. That's also what you do.
Teach the theory, and not to kind of like, and this is slightly going, but not to kind of change the way that they play, but just to like add that in so that they can play their traditional Malawian songs, but like maybe add like a minor chord in. It just opens up their skills. And so I started to like write songs and listen to different people, and I taught myself guitar, but taught myself all wrong. My hand position was totally wrong. And so then I had to go back and I restarted lessons.
And this was still in high school, right?
Yes, I was like 13, 14, and so I had to like restart and do all my lessons again, which is why like if you're ever going to learn, have a teacher, because I like really wish I did, because then I like did it twice. So and you're like, oh, it's really important. And I just started writing songs, and I just loved it, and I started getting booked for shows and like in my local town. I played my first gig when I was like 14 in like a bar. And got paid for it, and it was I was like, oh, this is really cool. And playing songs in my bedroom, I was like then playing it in front of people.
So at that point, did you already know that this is it? This is the career I want to follow?
Yeah, I knew I loved playing, and I loved connecting and using music. Definitely. But I knew that it wasn't. I think now more than ever, musicians have to be resilient and find different ways. And I feel like maybe in the kind of 60s and 70s and 80s, musicians were known as like, you're given a record deal, that's it, you're a musician. Whereas like now, there's my dad's a painter and decorator, and that's what and so he's self-employed. So I see my business the same thing as a self-employed, whether you're in a shop, whether it's rather than like waiting for somebody to give you that chance to become a musician. I see what you mean. Okay. You need to find other ways, and you need to that's true. You can't just rely
on... Be a bit more dynamic.
Yeah, definitely, because I mean, look at right now with COVID and everything, like you have to do some music teaching, and all these different parts add up to you being a musician, rather than just kind of the old-fashioned, you get a record deal and that's it. So I feel like now more than ever, especially with online platforms, and there's so many different ways that you can put your music out there now. It's not just as kind of like, that's the only way to become a musician. So I definitely knew that I wanted to do music. Okay. Yeah, definitely.
So you then obviously took it to university, right? You studied music at university. What university did you go to?
I went to Manchester Met University, and studied, again, there were 2 courses. There was a popular music course, which was more about the, like the songwriting and modern music. And then there was just the music course, which was the classical music and classical training, which is what I picked to do. Because I thought, again, if you have that theory, you can apply that to any genre. So so I did that, and we did lots of like composition and analysis and theory, and I studied in classical classical singing.
Yeah.
And did all like the
wow,
really? Yeah, so that's what I trained in to do all like the
Pavarotti kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. But it's the best way for your breathing and your posture and like how I've like learned so much about how your throat works. And
do you think you can give us one of the classical chords?
Oh my God, to do that! I know. Oh no,
do a high Pavarotti.
I know, just be like, but it's so amazing that, and that's the thing I think, even for like singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
To have all this theory and the training behind you, you can apply, regardless of what genre it is, you can apply it to whatever you would like it to. So yeah, so I studied for 3 years at university and had a wicked time. Yeah, uni was fab. Yeah,
of course, I'm sure it was.
Yeah,
it always is.
No, and we did all. I led a gospel choir at university.
Wow.
Yeah, so we played in a band. We had a great time. Yeah.
So how would you describe your music, the kind of music that you do? What's your genre?
So I would singer-songwriter, but I feel like a lot of singer-songwriters are very. I try to be upbeat and maybe not just write about love songs. I feel there's a lot of other things to write about.
Yeah.
And I try, and again coming back to like the training in an instrument, I try when playing guitar to kind of get 3 instruments out of one instrument. So like for example, like you have the higher strings and the lower strings, and you can use the lower strings as a bass guitar. So it's not just strumming all of them, but you can like add and it just makes it so much more interesting than sitting and playing the same thing throughout the song. So it's trying to add a bit more like dynamics within the music. And I just write about things that I love, and I mean coming to
So would you
Malawi,
say it's more folk or more?
I know it's hard because when you say folk, especially in the UK, folk is a very specific genre that I've played at folk things, and I'm definitely not folk. But when you say pop, then I'm definitely not.
You're not pop either.
No,
yes.
It's that the singer-songwriter, and it's just upbeat, uplifting music. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about how you wound up here now. How did you get to Malawi? Because obviously, like I said, you teach at Jacaranda. You run an NGO, and obviously you also play your music here. How did you end up here?
Yeah, well, so I graduated uni in 2013 and then played all different festivals around the UK. But again, I also did teaching on the side. Yeah. Because it's good to make sure that you're, keeping everything going. It's important too. And so then my husband and I, we got married. We were married in 2015.
Right.
And we got married in August 2015, and then in December 2015 there was a really bad storm in the UK, and it like rained for like 2 weeks solid, and the house that we were renting was flooded.
Oh no!
Yeah, so we we were sat one night and like water started coming through the walls, and we were like, and so we were stuck in the house for like 2 days, and the water was like up to here.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we were just like, maybe we should do something different. And then we were living in the north of England, and we were thinking about moving further south anyway, because I spent a lot of time in London working, and so we were like up and down constantly. So we wanted a change, and my husband is a teacher, and so we just thought, well, we've always wanted to live abroad. I travelled to the Gambia when I was 17, and I raised some funds for some musical instruments and took them over to Gambia, and just fell in love with being in a different culture and being, I know the culture from Gambia to Malawi is completely different. Yeah. When people just say, I love Africa, and you're like, well, Africa's like a whole continent with different, so
the similarities are there, but they're also polar opposites in different countries. So,
100%, yeah. So I just love the feeling of being out of your comfort zone, and I feel like when you learn about other people's culture, you also learn so much about yourself.
True. True.
And I think you never stop learning, and that's something I have learned since coming here. Is I think when you finish school, everybody's like, well, that's it. I'm know everything now, and it's like no. And so I just knew I would love to go back, and I'd love to come back to the continent and to try different places. And so I was like, I will work anywhere, and make something happen. And so my husband Andy applied to different teaching roles all around the world. We Ecuador, New York, and then we saw Malawi, and we just were like, this looks really cool. And when in 2016, when I Googled about any music or arts here, the only thing I could find online was Lake Stars. Right. Because there's not a lot. Now in the past 5 years. Yes.
There's been an explosion.
It's been amazing. And so like now if I was to look, I would find like Sounds of Malawi at Jacaranda Cultural Centre, like all these different so it's great to see how much it has progressed over the past 5 years. But all I could find was Laker Stars.
Yeah.
So I messaged Laker Stars and was just like, please have me play, like I'm leaving everything. But I very much believe that everything happens for a reason, and it's totally what you make of it. And I mean, we came for 2 years, and I just thought, well, if we don't like it or we don't feel that it's, we can always go home. It's okay. We got to try it. And so we just had, like, we've just had the best time.
So you thought you were going to stay for a shorter time than you would, and then yet you're still here.
I know. Then 5 years later, I'm like, please don't. Yeah, I'm like, don't kick me out. I'm like,
all right, we're going to take a short break, Anne-Marie. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the other things that you've been doing. Obviously, with Jacaranda, and then your malaria project, etc. So we'll take a short break. If you're just joining us, you're watching this week's edition of Women in the Fore on Times TV, and today I'm talking to musician Anne-Marie Quinn, and she's telling us about her story, how she got to be in Malawi, how she's teaching music, and also we'll be talking malaria after the break.